Hello, MSOE fans, and welcome to the Raider Report, where we sit down with MSOE coaches to discuss all things Raider athletics, from game reactions to recruiting news and everything in between. The Raider Report has all the behind-the-scenes details and news you want. This week, our guest is head coach of women's hockey, Baylee Wellhausen. And at this time, I am joined by the head coach of women's hockey, Baylee Wellhausen. Thanks for talking to me today, Coach.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
So you got hired last year right around the same time as me. I think you were a little bit before me, so you were first, technically. But talk to me a little bit about that process and how you became an MSOE Raider.
Yeah, it was kind of a crazy process. I'm a journalism communications major. I guess marketing is kind of involved in that. But so I was actually doing a job that was more on that end, like honestly, not even in the hockey realm. But I have Raider ties. So my fiance is a former MSOE men's hockey player. So like I've kind of known about MSOE this whole time that I've been in Milwaukee, been closely connected to it, but just not here necessarily working here. But long story short, when this opportunity came knocking, it was Coach Graham Johnson that reached out to my fiance, who then kind of talked to me and was like, hey, this job is open, are you willing to kind of, see if it might be for you? And so it kind of just fell into my lap. Quite honestly, which I think is really cool. And it fell into my lap in like the perfect time too, because I loved the job I was working at, right? But I just felt like there wasn't as much of a challenge. Like I was still seeking something that felt more fulfilling or more rewarding.
For sure.
And so I think it just I manifested it in a way, and it was. I know it was a great opportunity because I was terrified, like in the best way, like right. Which it was one of those things that and I think that's kind of when I knew that the job was for me. Is I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. I almost feel unworthy for this, but I want to try it. Like let's interview, let's see what it's like, and ended up falling in love with it. And I got to talk to some of the girls here who would be on my team. That was a big solidifying factor for me, of just like meeting them, seeing their passion, how excited they are, and just how much they wanted to have a team.
Yeah.
And I felt like I was their ticket to do that. And I just felt called to be able to be their coach. And so that was kind of, I guess, a long-winded way of describing it, but that's how it happened. And and Bill and I hit it off, so that was good. And I just loved everyone here in the athletic department. I felt so supported as a female coach, starting a brand new women's team. You don't always get that. And so it was really cool to have that here. That feeling of just we want to make this happen. And so taking the job, I just felt easy. Like it was scary, and then all of a sudden felt really easy to do it. So
it's crazy. I felt the same way coming from construction. It was such a 180.
Okay.
I was
yes.
so excited and so energized that finally, this is what I feel like I want to do.
Yes.
So awesome to hear that. Tell me a little bit about your history of the game. When did you start playing?
Yeah.
Maybe like a player comp for us. Give us the Baylee Wellhausen experience.
Yeah. So I started playing. So my dad grew up. He loved hockey growing up. He didn't ever play in college or anything, but he just grew up, a Hawks fan. He just kind of followed all that Chicago hockey, kind of just would listen to games and, listen to the radio, and just really fell in love with the game, taught himself the game essentially. So
sure.
When he had, I think he thought I was going to be a boy, but then when I was a girl, he was like, well, whatever, I'm just going to do the same thing. So he got the tiniest skates he possibly could when I was shortly, I think I was just around 2 years old. Yeah, and so we went to the hockey store, literally grabbed the tiniest skates he could find, put them on me, and we went to an open skate, and he had me try to chase, there were these disco lights that were kind of reflecting on the ice, and he told me to chase them. And then he noticed that I was really good when I could get myself up. And whenever I'd fall, I could get myself up, which is really hard on skates. I'm sure if you've skated or anyone knows it's. And when you're 2, yeah, that too. So he kind of realized okay, I think she kind of likes it, and then from there, started playing the house leagues and then competitively. And I fell in love with it. And so I started officially playing those house leagues when I was about 4. So that's when the competitive hockey. I say competitive lightly because we're 4 years old, but
Still,
I've been
doing this a long time.
Yeah, so
I was gonna say I didn't start playing football till I was in 8th grade.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
So, dang.
Yeah, so it's been instilled within me for a long time.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I played all the way growing up. I played boys because at the time, there weren't a lot of girls teams. I mean, it's great to see your growth now that there is, but when I was growing up, that was kind of the best and most competitive hockey you could play, was honestly playing with the guys and just the only option that we had. And so I thought nothing other than that. And played in Janesville, and then eventually was able to make my first like AAA team when I was like, gosh, 8 or 9, or I don't know. I'm thinking of the age. Maybe it was older or younger. I don't know, but eventually made that. Played in Madison for the boys, and then when I was around in 8th grade, I started double rostering. So I played on the girls. I played up on like the U16 team and the boys. So I was doing both for a while, which was crazy. Like, I don't know how my parents let me do that. They're like taking me to the rink an hour or so away, like almost every night at that point, right? Like after school, I just got used to doing my homework in the car. So it really did like become my whole world. And then I was fortunate enough to go to prep school for high school. So I was able to go, and that's when I really took off like my all girls, which was cool. Like, it was a lot going from the guys game to the girls game. And then found my way back to Madison because I wanted to be a Badger. And so just like, yeah, that's kind of my hockey like career journey, I would say.
For sure. So growing up then, were you the only girl on a lot of those teams
where
you were playing up with the boys?
Yep. So I was the only girl on my boys team. Gosh, for as long as I can remember, to be honest. Yeah, it's funny now because I feel like when I come across people in the area, hockey's such a small world. So many guys or so many families will be like, oh my gosh, I remember you because you were the girl. It's so easy to remember the only girl. And then I'll be like, I don't quite remember all you guys because it just felt all the same, right? Like, but I definitely made myself known in that sense of being like the little blonde haired girl out there amongst all these boys. And so, yeah, it was fun.
it's no surprise that you ended up a Badger. I mean, you've been playing hockey since you were 4 years old, and then you're essentially playing with the boys. You're like the runt of the league. Like, you have to fight for your life.
And I wasn't big. I'm still not big, so it was a lot. Yes. It was crazy.
That's crazy. At what point did you realize that coaching was something you like wanted to do that? Obviously, this opportunity gets dumped in your lap kind of out of nowhere. Was coaching something that was on your radar when you were working that marketing job? Was it something you were even like thinking about?
Yeah, it's funny you asked that because, obviously, like I just mentioned, hockey was such a big part of my life, right? Like, I truly lived and breathed it. So when I graduated and when it was essentially, done for me, now there's a professional league, so that's amazing. I wish that was there for me, but when it was done, it was really hard. Like, I actually, feel like a lot of my identity was wrapped up in it. And so when it was done, it was kind of like, who am I now? Like, what do I do? Which was difficult for me to process. So I think a lot of, like, right when I graduated, I almost didn't want to do a lot of hockey, which sounds crazy, I know, to think, but it was, for 20 plus years, everything that I knew about myself. So I really wanted to explore who I was kind of outside of that. And so coaching really wasn't on my radar, which is crazy. But I was always kind of involved in hockey in a way, whether it was, playing in leagues around this area, which I still do now, whether it was, I did a little color commentary for the Milwaukee Admirals for a bit. And then, I do, sometimes people would ask for like private lessons here and there or stuff like that, which, I would dabble with that. And in camps, like I grew up, in being a Badger, I did camps all the time. And so like, if anyone needed me, that was the kind of the extent of where I would go. But I'm like, all right, I'll be there, but then I can leave that environment as well. And so that's why I say, I think after all these years, I've had enough time to kind of establish who I am outside of the game. And so when this coaching opportunity did come, I felt like it came at the perfect time because I felt like I knew who Baylee Wellhausen was without that, and so it was cool to have this. And I think that's why it was a little scary because I had thought for so long, like, I don't think I'm going to coach. I think I'll just, I'll just do it here and there. And so when it did come, it kind of was just staring me at the face. And I've been told by people, like, you'd be a great coach. You're a good people person. You're, for a while I wanted to be a teacher in my life. Like, I've just kind of had all these different pathways that I guess have led me here. But yeah, I'll be honest with you, I had not really any intention of doing it, but and that's how life works, I mean, you said you came from construction too, in this light in your lab, like, you just don't know. And so it was cool to have that kind of full circle moment, I think, and having the comfort of it being MSOE was helpful because I felt like I already knew that environment, and like, I think it was just a no-brainer. I'm here, and I'd done so much for Wisconsin women's hockey in the area that I felt like it had to be me. I don't know, it just sounds crazy to say that out loud, but it really did feel like that.
You gotta believe it.
Yeah.
I want to touch on the transition once you're actually stopping being an athlete, because I know, at least for me and a lot of the guys I played football with, when you're done in high school, that's when a lot of people go through.
Yeah.
And it's like every other transition when you're leaving high school, and it's just part of it.
Yeah.
When you're done playing in college, it's been a part of you for so much longer. It's consumed that much of your time, especially as like a college sport. I know when I was done playing, I started to question. You said like you don't know who you are.
Yeah.
I started questioning everything about myself. I was like, is this the right major for me? Do I like my friends? Like I legitimately questioned everything. Was it tough for you when you were first getting out of the game to really figure out who you were?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for so long when I was little, right, I was playing hockey in Wisconsin. Like it literally was my dream to be a Badger. Like that was the end goal from when I was little. Like I went to every Badger camp possible trying to make myself known. It's kind of comical now when I look back on it. And he ran the same camp like as I then became a counselor, which was really cool. But yeah, so like I fully invest, like just kind of let it overcome me in a way. Like I just fully invested myself into that. And so, yeah, when it was done, it was just a lot of, I tried my senior year a little bit more to branch out, like knowing that, eventually it would end. Like I tried to maybe reach, have different friend groups or like try to not only be around my team all the time, but it's hard to do that. Like those are your people. Sure. And so I think looking back, I'm like, oh, maybe I should have done that a little bit more. But yeah, nothing really prepares you for that. And I think that now, it's a great time now for young athletes because I think that they're talking about that so much more. Yeah. They're forming those groups. They're having those classes on how to, the resources that you need when you do leave, how to kind of enter into that real world mentality because it really is hard. Like, and you come from such an intense structure and routine. I think that part was difficult too. It's like all of a sudden I had all this time on my hands to do, quite frankly, whatever I wanted, right? Like yes, you have a job and stuff, but it was like all this free time. And it just was crazy. With no structure. With no structure.
And I think part of it too is you don't have you're always planning for an opponent.
Yes.
You're planning for the next thing. Like you said, you wanted to be a Badger, and then after that, you probably wanted to win conference.
Yes.
And then immediately, there is no goalpost to see.
Yes.
You're just in the open ocean, and it's like,
that's a good point.
What do I want to do?
Yeah.
Next?
Where's my goal? My priority? What do I my purpose? Truly, that's kind of where it was kind of what is it now? I have no idea. And that I think was just hard to grapple with because
it's overwhelming.
Yeah. You lose that sense of purpose and then you're just like, what the heck? Where do I go from here? I have no idea. But it was a lot, but I'm glad that I was fortunate enough to have, my now fiance who was with me and my supportive family who always helped and just kind of was able to really take that leap into having a life here in Milwaukee and establishing some great friends. And I grew okay with not knowing, and that's really difficult.
Yeah.
To be okay with the unknown. I still sometimes have my moments where I'm not, but I think that that's ultimately where I had to find my peace of mind is just like you said, sometimes there isn't really that end, set goal. It's just to get through. And then kind of being okay, that's purpose enough,
And as an ex-athlete, sometimes being patient isn't
oh my gosh, it's not our quality. No.
Let's get back on track.
Sorry, I ramble.
No, you're good. So now that you've had some time in the office, been rocking and rolling as a coach, were there any misconceptions that you realized you had? Was anything a bigger deal than you realized or not a big deal at all and you amped it up in your head?
Yeah, I think it's funny because I think I was so nervous about just the team and having the team, are they going to like me? Are they going to respect me as a coach? And, it was only a certain amount of girls here, right? Because the way that it worked out was kind of, I won't go into too much detail, but we all know around here that it was a little bit, rocky to come into it. And there was a lot of stuff that I had to kind of help clean up in that sense. And that being, kind of reestablishing trust with these girls, that I wouldn't leave them, that we are going to have a team. So I was really nervous for that. It became a little bit easier. Like, I just think, like, I guess I underestimated my ability, like, as a people person, and like,
Sure.
them as well as like adult women who are able to understand that and like have grace with me. I think that the hardest part, to be honest, and I kind of had an idea coming into this, because I am not the best with numbers and money and all that stuff. So the budgets, like, that to me was like, okay, I have this amount, where do I put it? Like, how do I do? And then the scheduling is a good one too right now, that I'm trying to still kind of solidify all of that, was like having it all be on you, right? Because coming from that Division I atmosphere, and I guess coming from the student athlete atmosphere just in general, like, you're kind of used to everything just like like happening for you. Like, it sounds really, really silly. I'm like, I tell Dave this all the time, and that's my fiance's name. I was pretty spoiled, right? Like, as a Badger athlete, I just was like, while I earned that, I definitely was. And so there was something, it was always happening around you. And there was a lot of resources too. You had an equipment manager, you had 2-3 assistant coaches who were dealing with this. You had a person who just dealt with the schedules. Like, there was kind of a person for everything. When I came in, like, having it, I didn't really realize the impact of like it just being you, which has been a lot, but it's been kind of fun. Cause I think, again, that I go back to my, practicing grace for myself. Like, and I've had a lot of good coaching mentors in my life, or like the coaches in my conference who have reached out, and they're just like, hey, we get it. Like, if you have questions, don't hesitate to ask. And so having that support has really helped, because to me, and go back to the athlete mentality, I'm such a perfectionist. So I just want to do it right away. And like, it's hard for me to accept when like maybe I don't do something right, or I don't know how to do something. And so coming in, having that kind of, I had to figure that out a lot. But I think it's better now. I'm learning, but it was a lot. I'm like, holy moly, this is really all on you as a coach. So I had a lot of respect for all the coaches here.
Yeah, when you said that out loud, I want to thank Seth for handling the budget, because I don't even have to. It doesn't even cross my mind.
Which is nice.
I just have to keep the receipts from Chipotle when I have to buy student workers meals. I put it on his desk. He handles all the budget. So thank you, Seth. I don't worry
Shout
about
out to
any
Seth.
of that.
No,
So,
that's the thing.
that's
I'm like,
awesome.
I'm learning that in my other my life. I'm like,
Yes.
I don't have a house yet. We're still figuring that out. Like, I'm like, my fiance handles that stuff. I am not with numbers. I'm such a language mindset, hence the journalism major. But when we get to numbers and math, I'm like, oh no.
Sure.
And I'm here I'm at an engineering school, which I always crack up about, because like I would definitely not be good at this school. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, we are fish out of water.
Yeah, no.
So tell me about what it's like starting a team from scratch. What are the first steps in getting the puck rolling, for the lack of a better term?
Yeah,
when you got on campus, what were the first things you had to handle?
I think right away, getting a team. So getting numbers, finding people, that was like my absolute first priority. Outside of obviously like being able to attend to the needs of the girls who are here. So like, for those who don't know, backstory, like we kind of were supposed to have a team this year. It fell apart, but there are about like 8 players who stayed on campus, who are kind of just like, who really bought into this and who believe in me, which I'm super grateful for. So shout out to all of them. I would not be here or have that faith in myself if it wasn't for the faith that they have in me. But kind of, making sure that they were taken care of was like, actually, I'll go back, was my number one priority. Just what they needed, did they need ice time? Did they need equipment? What do they need, right? And making sure that they felt seen and heard, because I think that, with all this happening, that was kind of lost. So I wanted to reestablish that. And then, right away I was tasked with like, all right, you need this amount of people by this time, which was kind of crazy. But as an athlete, and you understand this, like, that's a goal, that's a challenge, let's do it. And so I really I think that really just catapulted me into it. And so it was just, a lot of emails, a lot of calls, establishing myself as that face for our team. And I think, that's the fun part to me, is like getting to know the potential recruits and, being able to talk with them, talk with their families. And so that was a lot of it when I first came in. And I would just say, throughout that, I guess a common theme is just the culture. And I'm sure you hear that from a lot of coaches, like it, especially in a new program, is making sure that is set. like, because I have the control over that, the team is going to have that control of being able to set that for the rest of time, right? Like everything that they do, they're setting that legacy, they're laying that groundwork. And so as a coach, it's my job to be able to show them that way and to, set those expectations for them. And for us as a whole, because I think that no matter what, like the culture is going to be really important in how we treat each other as teammates, how, we carry ourselves. And I think, so that's for me, and especially even heading into next year when we finally have like a full squad, just making sure time and time again that's set. Because I think it's so easy, especially in a new program, to go the wrong way or to have things kind of combust in that sense. So establishing that right off the bat is going to be crucial.
Is it helpful at all having someone like Tara right across the hall from
yes.
you, who's literally in the exact same boat as you, but then like doing it all just like 6 months before you have to do it?
Yes. Tara has been absolutely amazing. As a friend, as a mentor. Well, it was a mentor first. Now we're so close. We're like best friends now. But it was really great, and I'm so grateful that she came into my office right away and just kind of explained that. Right, she's like, I've been here. Quite frankly, I've been building my team. Like, truly anything that you need. She's given me advice in that sense too, and what to watch out for, what to think about as I'm kind of creating this team of girls. And so it's been really great. I mean, thank gosh, truly. Like, and it's fun to watch her trajectory and her successes and then the things that she's been doing, and it's hopeful for me for sure going in there knowing like, hey, even if I have a Mod Podge group of girls, like this puzzle piece that I have to kind of figure out what the puzzle's going to look like, that there's hope there, and then that is it really is in my control to be able to help mold that into what I want to make it. So Tara's been great. Shout out to her.
I've seen you down on the ice running practices with the 8 girls, I think. You have here. Tell me a little bit about what those look like at this point. Is it a lot of individual work?
Yeah. So, it's I would love if we all 8 of us would be out there at the same time, which was never really happened. So it was very much coming into, because, everyone's schedules were kind of established in their own way, right? Because they didn't know if they'd have a team this year. And so there wasn't really any practices in mind when they were creating their schedules. So I kind of came in wanting to make sure I gave them, like, I usually had like 2 ice times a day for like 2-hour periods, just so people could come out if they wanted. If it didn't work with someone, I tried to maybe hop on the ice in the morning with them to get them some extra help or practice or one-on-one time. It was usually like the most maybe 4 people at a time. I tried to schedule it around Jenna, our goalie, so like who's here right now, to be able to have that. Right. Of course, not always we were able to have that happen, but just to have her be out there too, because that helps with kind of drills. But it was a lot more just like skill work, and it was great, and I think I'm grateful for the girls for having so much patience with me too, because that was tough. Because you come into as a coach, like having that small area group work is difficult to keep them entertained and to make sure it's purposeful and meaningful. And I second guessed myself time and time again with them. So I'm glad that they were able to also share their input with me. Let's work on this, or can we come up with this type of drill, which was great because it helped me. So, and now I'm really excited to have a full team now, because in my mind I have so many drills that's meant for like 15 plus people. Right. Not 8 of them, maybe 4 at a time, maybe 2 at a time. So it was kind of hard to figure out how to like make those more simplified for that purpose and to keep them feeling like they were genuinely getting better or improving. That was kind of hard for me as a coach coming in, I would say.
Well, I can imagine. I mean, kudos to you, because you have players who are coming in who are going to play wing, who are going to play center, who are going to play defense, who are
exactly.
Play goalie. You have to kind of do like a catch-all.
Yeah,
that they're all going to take away something from this drill. I can't imagine being like, if we were starting a football team, it's like, okay, I have 2 offensive linemen, a quarterback, and a defensive back. What can we do that's going to get us all better?
There's a lot of, you're just going to play everything, right. Which honestly is great. Like as a player, you should be able to, I mean, granted, I talked as a forward, I'm not the best defenseman either, but like having those elements is important. And I think it'll probably contribute to our success in that sense of having people who honestly are a little bit more versatile, because they had to be in those drills.
Yeah, you
might
be a forward, you might not think
sorry.
Matters,
Yeah.
But all of a sudden there's a shorthanded breakaway and you're that one guy.
Yes. Oh yeah.
And it matters a lot.
Exactly.
So that's That's crazy that
Yeah.
4 people. That's awesome. You sent me and Seth a little sneak preview of the uniforms the other day. Talk to me about that process. Is it your call? Is it the team's call? Are you guys collaborating? Are there, inspirations behind it?
Yeah, it's a little bit of all of that you've said, right? So when I came in, again, originally I was kind of just learning the rules of the land too, like how I came in wondering, like I didn't know if that was on me or anything. So I really did start from scratch with all of that. But when I found out, I have kind of a little bit of that creative freedom. It was fun. And so I worked with our, equipment. Like I have a certain guy at a store locally, who I work with. And so he had sent me that suggestion of, here's these people that do these jerseys. They're great. Like, so he connected me with them. And then it was a lot of fun. So they have a website where you kind of you can mock them off of current professional teams and NHL teams and stuff. So I kind of just looked at all the jerseys and kind of saw what stood out to me, and whatnot. And I knew that I also wanted to incorporate some elements of black into our jersey, which is not as common. I know it sometimes is pushing the boundaries here because I know we have certain colors, but when I was able, red and white is technical, right? So we're not having a lot of, I was like, oh, what can I do to kind of of course, me coming in brand new, trying to really push the limits there, but I'm doing it. And so I kind of wanted to find the jersey that would kind of balance all of that, as well. I know that, some of our goalies will have black in their pads. And so it looks good. Right. And so I did involve some of the, once I kind of had an idea, I had some different options that I did send, to, anyone who would be a junior and senior next year.
Mm-hmm.
So my leadership core, right, of what I consider. And so I kind of bounced the ideas off of them. They kind of shared what they liked out of the ideas that I picked. A lot of it was inspired. Now that I look back, one of them, at least the one with the Raiders diagonal, was inspired by Wisconsin. Everyone makes fun of me for it, to be honest. They a lot of the other coaches were like, oh, that looks like a Badger jersey. I'm like, yeah, of course it does, because that's what I know. That's what I loved. Yes, I'm going to model it after that.
To do diagonal.
Yeah, I'm like, that's cool.
I think Rangers when I see the diagonal.
Yes.
Yes. You're not.
Exactly. And then that's why eventually I was just going to have that one. But then that's why I kind of want to maybe do a different home and away, which I ended up doing and having the regular Raider Athletic logo on our home jerseys. So I think that looks cool. But yeah, the actual style of the jerseys are technically the Hurricanes.
So
it is. No, it is. So technically it's the Hurricanes. Gotta love them. I'm rooting for him. Well, I'm rooting for him right now, right? I will say they're staying alive. I'll admit I'm gonna be pro Hurricanes over the Rangers right now in that series. But yeah, so it was their jerseys technically that I picked and then just modeled it. Yeah, look at you. You nailed it. So yeah, it was cool. And that was so fun. And it's hard too. It's a lot of pressure though a little bit because I'm like, this is literally the historical first jersey that I'm making. Of course, classic me overthinking that. But yeah, so I just wanted them to be cool. And the girls liked them a lot. So I'm excited to see how they turn out.
Yeah, they are clean. I will say, the mock-ups you sent me, I was like,
yeah,
these look way better than I thought we could pull off.
Yeah, so thank you. And having the names was important for me too. I will add. I just wanted to add that tidbit because I did ask the girls, some teams don't, which is fine. But for them, I think that they really felt like that was a collegiate, a true collegiate feeling, and they've earned that, which I agree. And so I was excited to be able to make sure that those were on the jerseys too. And I cannot wait to see their faces when we have the jerseys, you guys. I'm picturing, we're getting a new locker room, we're having all of that, just being able to have that set up for them when they come in next fall. I truly can't wait to see what that's going to be like. It's going to be Christmas Day for all of them.
Yeah,
so
I walked in on Tuesday and saw the Bobcat with
they're knocking down the walls.
In your locker room, right? So we're getting closer. All right, on to the fun part of the show. Raider Rapid Fire. Didn't prep you for these, so hope you can roll with me.
Got it.
If you were a NASCAR driver, what number would your car be? What color would it be? And what would your sponsor be?
Whoa, that's a tough one. Well, number 21. So 21 is a familial number.
Okay.
Well, it's actually was my favorite number. We'll go into that later. But it was my favorite number, and then it ended up also being my familial number. So a lot of us are 21 in the family, but that would be my number for sure.
Okay.
Colors. This is tough because my favorite color is blue, right? But when I think of NASCAR, I think of red.
Okay.
So I feel like it'd have to be red, or like red and orange, or like some cool fiery looking thing. Can you tell I watch a lot of NASCAR?
Well, that's
totally. Yeah. So I feel like I feel like I would have to do like red and orange, like your classic, like I want to be the one that they notice. Of course, now that I say that, I feel like it's Lightning McQueen from Disney as I'm describing that. There you guys go. That's my extent of my NASCAR knowledge. Oh my goodness. Oh, that's funny. So yeah, I guess what Lightning McQueen would look like. Love it. Ka-chow. Would have to have that. And then 21, and I feel like my sponsor. Oh gosh. This is a tough one. Sponsor wise, like I'm trying to think of what I wear most often, but I don't.
Bill was going to.
What was his? Yeah, give me some example.
Bill's was chewing tobacco, and Travis's was Nike. Travis was like the white.
Oh, come on. Yeah, okay.
And Bill's was like the green Kodiak Camaro.
Okay. So yeah, so when you get into the actual car like discussion, I am lost, just so you know. Not a car person.
No, I mean like
but
you're gonna brand it.
But just so you know. But let's see. I feel like it would have to be like some sort of beer. Like I just love beer. Like I'm such a Wisconsinite, so like it would have to be, well, like my family actually is affiliated with Heineken. I feel like that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
So maybe I'd have to change my color to green to have that. Like I feel like that'd actually be kind of cool now that I think about it. Like they, I feel like I'd have to rep the family there and be able to represent, like have a cool Heineken sponsorship or like, I feel like it would be beer. Like it would be some sort of drink for me. I'm not gonna lie. Like that's yeah.
Of the 3 people I've brought on, so.
I know it sounds funny, but I feel like that would be the sponsor, like for sure. Like like that's got to be it.
If they were going to make a movie about your life, whether it's a comedy, a drama, a horror movie, whatever it's going to be, what's the one scene they have to include?
Ooh. It would definitely be like a mix of a drama with some elements of comedy for sure, and not just the way that my life has lived out. Oh gosh. I feel like probably that, to be honest, like probably that scene that I described to you of me like starting hockey. Like I feel like that would be something, like if it was gonna be about my life, like you gotta include that. For sure. Without getting into like the deep parts of my life. Like we don't have to go there. Like obviously there's moments that are like pretty essential to that to know who I am as a person. But I think that'd be a really cool like some sort of kind of montage of like seeing that and then like fast forward to my like Badger life somehow. Like it's like I stand up and I'm wearing the jersey or like and then all of a sudden like I'm scrolling. Like that would be the cool montage. Like I feel like you gotta have that in like there.
An 80s power.
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
Okay, I was questioning whether I was going to ask you this one or not. I'm just going to throw it out there because equal rights.
Yes.
I was inspired by Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather. When they had their fight, I think it was Conor was walked to the ring by Jimmy Kimmel, a young Justin Bieber, and the Burger King. If you had a main event boxing match, who would be walking with you to the ring?
I immediately avert to like my go-to best friends, right? So like I jumped to Tara here. I'm not gonna lie.
Tara would probably be more ready to fight.
100%. Like, it would be, like, I would right? Like, she'd join me in the ring. Like, not, like, she's not supposed to, but she would totally do it, like, somehow get herself involved. And I feel like she would just absolutely hype me up to the point of where I would just, like, want to go. Like, I would say her and maybe one of my best friends from Madison, who was another one of those, like, would hype me up, like, probably would want to get involved as well. And then I feel like if we have to stick in that theme here, like Chris would probably just be like the greatest cheerleader. Like she'd be on the side just like saying all the good positive stuff like while I'm there. And then the rest of us would just be like, yeah, we want to go. Because she has she has that ability to be able to balance it. But yeah, I feel like Tara would have to walk me out and then like Chris would somehow like design something cool that I'd like walk through or something. She's that got that creative element. You know what I mean? Or like plan my outfit or something. Like that would be, and then so I think that would be it. Yeah.
You have the yin and the yang.
Yeah, exactly.
All encompassing.
Yeah.
If you got to put a neon sign up in your office and it could say anything, what would it say?
Well, I've been wanting to get a sign So I just finally, it sounds crazy because I'm 28, but I just finally watched all of The Office, like for the first time ever.
Okay.
Crazy, I know. I should have watched this before, but I finally just watched it all.
Sure.
So I really wanted to get a sign of you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, the Michael Scott or the Wayne Gretzky Michael Scott one. If I put that on neon, that might even be better. So maybe that. I feel like that would be it. Immediately, I've been wanting that in my office badly, so I could definitely see that as this next sign I put in there.
All right. Now, this is the most pressure I'm going to put on you.
Okay.
I'm just putting the spotlight on you. A minute, 30 seconds, 60 seconds. Whatever you want to talk about, whatever you feel like the people need to know, I'm giving you the floor.
Oh, okay.
Anything.
Anything that people need to know. Like, is this about me? Does it have to be?
It could be about you. It could just be a piece of motivation to get them through the day.
Okay, yeah, I like that. I like that element. Because I feel like I'm constantly trying to motivate myself to get through my days. I think most recently, and not to take a kind of deeper twist here, but I would say that just it's okay to not be okay and to not know things, like how things are going to work out. Like, it's okay to not have a plan sometimes. And just be okay with that. I would just say that that's my number one piece of advice, I guess, for the people. Like, I sound a lot of times like I have my shit together. Are we allowed to swear on this?
I mean,
not necessarily. Have my crap together. We'll edit that out. But I feel like a lot of people, I have that surface look. I've been told by friends and whatnot, but a lot of times I'm just flying by the seat of my pants. And so, faking it till you make it, just kind of if you have the belief in yourself, I think that can carry you a long way. Right. And so I think that that's something that most recently I've been really, learning as now in my late 20s, because I think that there was a lot of pressure I put on myself to have everything all together. And so just an overall encompassing message that it's okay not to have it all together. Because, eventually the everything happens for a reason. And I fully believe that. And eventually you'll kind of have that full circle moment where you're looking back and thinking, oh my gosh, why was I worried about this? Or why was, this makes sense now. There always is that moment. So it's okay. Don't worry about if you can't see that just yet, because it'll come. So
powerful.
Yeah. There you go. Thank you for giving me that inspiration to do that one. So appreciate it.
You mentioned that you wish your pro leagues were still around. If you had that opportunity to play pro, would you pursue it?
Yeah.
And two, what was your playing style? Are you a sniper? Are you an enforcer? What was your trademark?
I would say, so there's the PWHL now, which is awesome, right? And so I kind of lied to you earlier when I said I didn't play pro. I played originally it was an organization before it became, an actual league, right? Which is normal. They all go through that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I did dabble in that for a little bit. I think it was just hard because at the time, we were getting to the point, we were all getting to the point of our lives where you're kind of figuring out what you want to do, what your priorities are. Do you want to keep playing? Do you maybe want to start your career, or maybe you want to start your family? Whatever you want to do, there's a lot of that's kind of where I feel like we were getting to that age, right? I would have loved to have it right out of college, which would have been cool, because I feel like then I would have had, we go back to that purpose thing, and I feel like I would have just gone right into that, right? Because it's all I knew, all in. And so it was a little harder now, kind of trying to balance it. And so I did have to make that decision of I probably could have maybe tried out for the PWHL, but again, my priorities were kind of shifting, right? I was I'm kind of ready to settle in a sense. And I say settle lightly, obviously never settle, everyone. No, keep shooting for the stars. But in that sense of I knew that my path was kind of splitting off from that particular motion. And then wait, what was the beginning of this, right? My playing style. Duh. Okay, yeah. I feel I would consider myself more of a playmaker, I will say. It shifted. I was, in high school and whatnot, pretty dominant of the scoring person. I will say that. I hate to talk about myself in that sense, but it is the truth. And then I think oh gosh, that's kind. I'm sure some people who were on the teams or were there be but I was kind of that. I had that role, right? I was that person that had a lot of ice time, and that was kind of my role. Things in college, and to everyone, right? You are in high school. The way you get to that elite level is you are kind of that top player, then you're a big, and you go back and you're with a lot of other really great players. And so it is a lot of like understanding your role, and there's a lot of movement and things shift and your purpose shifts on the ice and kind of, so I think that for me, in college, while I think that I was able to kind of get to that point by the time I was leaving or by the time I was a senior, I would say it was just that hard work type of person. Like I would always give 110% effort. A lot of my game was like my speed too. I was quite fast.
Okay.
And so just, winning races to the puck, being able to come out of the corner, even if I was
harassing people on the forecheck.
Yes, exactly. Like I was that type of like kind of relentless pursuit in that sense. And I think that also contributed to being a playmaker in my mind, right? Like it's like, I'm on the forecheck, I get the puck, I can get it to the people who can make those big goals and score, right? And then I think that, by the time I was a senior, things did change. It was an Olympic year too, my senior year, so we did lose some of that talent. So it was kind of like, all right, how can we all now step up to the plate? So I think that year, maybe I was able to kind of capture that a little bit more. But yeah, I would consider myself just mostly like that playmaker mentality.
Okay. You say you're fast, you say you're gritty. I have to ask the necessary follow-up question. Would you describe yourself as like a pest? Were you getting under people's skins, maybe face washing?
Oh, maybe not that far. Okay. I think just like with the way that I was, like you said, like always on top of everyone in that sense, like in the corner, like I know I would annoy people with that. Like when I'm like actually like in the corners, like battling, like, like I am just, no, I'm not, right? Like but I think when it comes to the like chirping or, any of that, like I had one of my line mates, she was that person. She was that enforcer type of personality. So a lot of times, like, it's like I can start it and then I'll just leave, right? She's the one who's going to finish it or like the one who's going to say that. I think, there are moments if I'm provoked that I can use it's mostly words for me. Like I would use my words as power in that sense. Like, watch out, like, don't test me. I can maybe make up something about you, or I will say something that maybe isn't the nicest thing to you in the moment, but like, you were asking for it or something like that, like I think that when I was like really playing, I think there are moments even now when I play that I get a little spicy, but I'm sure that people will mention, I'm sure David will, I skate with him now. So there are moments where he's like, whoa, calm down. But you gotta keep your own out there, especially as a small person like me. It's like, that's, gotta use your things to your advantage. So
exactly. From Chris, I heard that the Blackhawks are your quote-unquote day one team.
Yeah.
But you also root for and have multiple teams. Can you explain that to me?
Yeah. So, like I said, my dad was a diehard. He still is like a diehard Blackhawks fan. Like we grew up kind of like Geneva area, Wisconsin. Okay. So kind of like, close to the border, right? Sure. So a lot of my, a lot of the teams we root for are Chicago-based teams.
There's no professional.
There's no exactly. So we were kind of like that's kind of the next team, right, closest to us. So, so we grew up Hawks fans through and through, and then lo and behold, kind of the way that my family has worked out. So I had not to get too pretty, but I had a mom before who my birth mom passed away of breast cancer when I was young, and then. Fast forward a little bit, my dad ended up marrying into the Granato family, which is a big hockey family for anyone who knows hockey pretty well. And so like Cami Granato was, when I was younger, my hero growing up. I went to all of her camps. She was like the first captain of like the first women's Olympic team.
Okay.
And so she's like the trailblazer of women's hockey, or among that class of those trailblazers. And so I grew up, and she was number 21, hence why now I am number 21. So I grew up just like absolutely loving her. We had some sort of relationship, even when, with my first mom. And then as we moved on, that's when my dad met her sister. And so, and my mom actually is funny. She didn't play hockey. She was actually a cheerleader. She's going to kill me for saying this, but she was a cheerleader for the Bears. So crazy. Another Chicago tie. Back when they don't have them now. She was there when they won the Super Bowl, and then it went no more, which I feel like she deserves a ring. Super Bowl, like everyone out there, just to point out, but I think so. I know we might have to, but anyways, so like, which is funny because I love that she had her own entity that she built for herself. But so we kind of became a part of this crazy, wonderful hockey family, which was cool. It's like my hero became my aunt. She's still my hero, but like it's such a different relationship we have now in the best way. And so, yeah, and it's funny because they all are from the Chicago area. They also grew up loving the Blackhawks, right? Like my grandparents on that side, like met at some of their first dates were at Hawks games. So it's really cool. Like it's very historically built and embedded in all of our lives. But then a lot of, with the Granato family, they have a lot of, we have a lot of coaches. So, my Uncle Tony, he played at Wisconsin and he had a great NHL career, but he's, was the coach at Wisconsin. He was, the coach at Detroit. He was the coach at Pittsburgh. So like the Avalanche for a long time. Like, and then, so it's just been for like a lot of us will have, like, I have so many different NHL like themed clothing items that will just be from every era of that. Like, it's just funny. So like you would usually just go with the eras that like we would support the Hawks, but then when they played against each other, it was always a tough one. Yeah, you try. It was always like tough, right? Like you'd be like wanting to celebrate, but then you're like, no, I gotta celebrate for the other team. So it was just kind of, a little bit on that. And then my other uncle, he has coached all over as well. And just most recently was the coach for the Sabres. No longer, but I'm sure he'll land somewhere soon. Then we'll have to cheer for that team too. But so it's been like, so we have like Sabres gear, Avs gear, Red Wings gear. And then my aunt now is the assistant GM for the Vancouver Canucks. Currently. So she's one of the like trailblazers in that sense too, because I know a lot of teams are starting to have female representation in their front office, which is awesome. She loves it. She was originally with Seattle as a scout for a bit, which again have Seattle stuff. Then she went to Vancouver. So now it's been so now they're in the playoffs. We're rooting for them hardcore. Like
they're still in
they're still in it, which is awesome. Especially in that first year that she's been it. I think that's great. And so now it's like diehard cheering for them. Like it's just funny. Like it just shifts kind of with that familial support. And so it's been a cool experience for sure.
Is there any teams where it's like you really hope the family doesn't end up affiliated with them? Like are there any teams, like to me, like you say that I was like, oh, that's awesome, she's with the Canucks. And then that Alex Burrows goal from 2011, 7 overtime in the back of my head.
Yes.
Slap shot.
Yes.
And I was just like, oh my God, I hate them so much.
Yes. No, that was a little bit before. Like when I remember growing up and us like not liking, like despising the Canucks. And then also the Red Wings was tough. Yeah. When he was working for the Red Wings, I'll admit, like, because that's a big rivalry for us Chicago
not so
fans.
Much anymore because they split.
Because they split. Yep. But back when it was, that hadn't happened yet. And so that was a big rivalry. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this is tough. Yeah. I don't want to really necessarily wear this stuff. Like, I remember I think I had like one hat that I would sometimes whip out, but I was like, I don't really want to because it felt wrong.
Yeah, especially if you're walking by like Hawks fans or someone. Like, they're going to give you a hard time. Like,
I think now, to be honest, I don't, it's hard. Like, I don't think right now. I think that I'd be okay with whatever. Like, I think I've been, looking back, but when I was little, that was kind of embedded.
Times have changed now that you can wear any team.
Yeah,
and it's like,
the rivalries aren't as big now. Which is like, dang, I miss those days.
There's still lines you can't cross. Like, fan, I'm not going to wear like a
Packers 100%, same. No,
but like, I can wear some other.
Do you ever get? Well, I guess. So, are you from the Chicago area? Okay, well then I guess you don't get as much slack. I feel like I'm like from Wisconsin, and so when people ask me for NFL teams, like if I'm a Packers fan, I say no. It's crazy. They think I'm just this terrible person. I'm like, no, I'm sorry. I always get that. It's wild, but no. Going back to your question, I don't think so. I don't know. I think I'd be okay. If I think of it, I'll let you know if there's one team that I'd be like, absolutely not.
Of the 3 Stanley Cup Hawks teams, were you attached to anyone more than the other? Were you like, were one of those runs stand out at all more than the other?
Gosh, they all sometimes blur into one because they were so close. I don't know if that is the same with you, right? Like
13 and 15, I can't.
Yeah,
say. Like, I was a kid in 2010.
Yeah, same. Like I was.
Those guys were
Yeah, same. Like I feel like 2010 was kind of like I still like I knew the players, right? Like, but then it wasn't as. But I think that the 13-15 I became a little bit more invested. Like my dad knew, and he still does. Like no, literally every player. He's an encyclopedia of hockey. So like he's probably like, come on, Baylee. But no, I think that I really loved the year. Like I can vividly remember some of the like game-winning goals, and like I specifically remember when Kane scored that goal, like, and it went like kind of underneath, and he skated around and no one knew. Because we actually had our TV, like we brought this TV that we had in a different room, like onto the kitchen counter. Like, I'm telling you, like when I talk about like how much my dad loves Hawks, like, and how our family is, like, this is it. Like, we brought on the kitchen counter, we were all like surrounding this tiny TV, watching the game, and like we all started celebrating because we saw Kane score, but my dad would not celebrate until it was official. Like, he was like, hang on. Like he was so like excited but nervous. Yeah. So I really vividly remember that win. Right. And it was away, right? I remember it was so cool because it was away. And I think that was the same year with like the 2 goals and like
both were away,
whatever amount of seconds, right?
13,
which was wild.
27 seconds.
So I think that, 27 seconds. There you go. Yeah. Look at you. You know all the exact stats. But, like, I think that was a great year, too. And, like, I also loved, like, Andrew Shaw and, like, some of those guys. Like, I think of that. Like, obviously, you got Taves and Kane, of course. Yeah. But I loved the Shaws, the Sharps, the, Duncan Keith. Like, I remember all of that. Like, those are those Hawks for me, for sure, that it will always live rent-free in my head. Like, that's, and I remember loving especially Andrew Shaw, because, like, he was just such a gritty, small player. And so for me, a pit bull. And so for me in that stage of my life, like, playing, like, I always wanted to make sure that, like, I talked to you about that mentality just now. That's why, like, seeing those players, I wanted to be a little pit bull as well. Like, obviously he was getting to many fights, so that was not me, but I took most of his game and tried to model myself after that. Like, that guy was awesome. So it was cool to watch that era.
For sure. Just a couple more before we wrap up and I let you get out of here. What are you most excited about as the season gets closer and closer?
Oh man, I just to have a season. I know it sounds so simple, but I think just to have, a full team, and I think it's kind of I do get a little nervous in that because I want to do well, and I don't know how everyone's gonna mesh. Like, I've vetted everyone culturally and as a person, but like once you get out there and are on the ice and get to kind of see how everyone works together, you never really know. But I think that that's also like an exciting thing to me, because it's like, how am I gonna? Now it's the time that I can kind of mold them into different players and like help shape them, and who works well with who, and being able to kind of watch that unfold. And I think for them, especially the girls that have been waiting to have a season, just to see them flourish. Like, I really think they will. They always tell me they're all afraid because they haven't skated or they haven't like played it in a competitive league or like had a game, But I told them, I'm like, hey, we go into the summer and it's kind of back to square one for everyone, in my opinion. Like, even coming from a very competitive place, and in my collegiate journey, like, it was like you kind of have to all come back and kind of get back into that game mentality. So like, no, come in with confidence. Like, you guys have earned it. You guys are meant to be here. And so I'm just excited as a coach to watch them flourish and to watch them be able to have that experience, because they haven't. And just to get that first year under my belt, to get games, like, I don't know, but just to have all of those experiences and like face the adversity, like have the team conversations of like, what are our goals? What are our dreams? How do we work together? How can we stay positive? And just kind of having that all unfold. I'm really excited to, and all of them, like, everything they do is going to be the first, right? Like, they get to have which is so cool. Like, the first goal, first assist. Like, and we saw that with Tara, right? And with the lacrosse season this year, I thought that was so cool. And so like, they get to literally make history, which I think is fabulous. And so being able to be the coach that helps lead them that way is just ultimately what I'm excited for. I can't wait. It'll be fun. For sure.
We can't wait either. As we head into the summer, what's one piece of advice you'd give to all the student athletes out there as they get ready for their off season?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it is important, you've worked so hard all season, to give yourself that kind of like little bit of break in the summer, or like to be able to find kind of more of that balance. But I will say, as a student athlete in particular, like, the summertime is where you gotta get after it. Like, the summertime is the best time to truly improve your game at all levels. It's, you cannot leave any stone unturned in the summer, in my opinion. Like, make sure that you're putting in the work, because this is the time. Because, I remember when I was in high school, I always had a quote that I loved, and it was, there's always there will always be someone bigger, faster, stronger. Be that someone. I remember I had it like up in my hotel or my high school dorm room. And so just like, I always think of that, right? Like make sure you're preparing yourself for that, because when you get back, on the ice in the fall, like it's business time, right? I'll know as a coach too, if you've wasted the summer, like everyone else, like there's always people that are going to be working twice as hard. So to try to keep up with that is what I would say, is just like make sure that you're putting in the work, because summertime is that time and you gotta take that accountability.
Yes.
Yeah.
As someone who took his first summer completely off in between sports, the defensive line coach, at the time I thought he was just being mean, because when I came back on campus, he checked me right away. Said some crazy stuff. And I was like, he's just an a-hole. And then I don't know. He was letting me know he saw that I did.
Yes.
All off season. And it was obvious.
Absolutely. So, it shows.
Don't be.
Yes. Don't be Greg, everyone. No, but for real, like all jokes aside, that I think, like you said, because it's so obvious. And I think you just don't realize at that age sometimes, like the importance of making the most of your summer, workout wise and training wise. And so, just to be aware of that, because there's always people who are doing it. So you don't want to fall behind.
As someone who has a 21-year-old brother right now, you have time.
Yes.
You have work. You have your social obligations. I can tell you have enough time in the day to train and see your friends and go to work and do everything. You might cut an hour of sleep. You might not get your full 8, but it's a small sacrifice to make for all the other pieces.
Absolutely. I can't stress that enough. And that's coming from, so for us too, as Badgers, we usually had to report to campus, we'd had to be there all summer, right? So we were doing the workouts and whatnot. But to be honest, this summer was the most fun we had too. So to go off of what you're saying, it really was we got up early, got our workout in, but the rest of it was for what we wanted to make of it. And so we had a great time. And so, like you said, there definitely is the balance. You can make it all work. So just do that. Make it all work. It's okay. You're good.
Well, thank you for taking the time to join me today, Coach, and good luck to you this season.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for listening, and thank you to Coach Wellhausen for taking the time to join us this week. You can follow Raider Athletics on YouTube at MSOE Raider Athletics, and you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at MSOE_Raiders. Don't forget to find us on Spotify, too. Be sure to like, subscribe, follow, repost, share, and get the word out to all your Raider friends and family. We want you to be heard. Mention us on social media and tell us what you want to hear about. Go